There are so many amazing benefits to storytelling, and using storytelling to your advantage as a brand really pays off. So, today I want to talk to you about the effects of storytelling, the benefits of storytelling, and something about storytelling that you might not realize actually supports you as a brand and business owner.
This is the Authentic Brand Builders Podcast with Michelle Knight.
Hey there, Authentic Brand Builder. Welcome back to the podcast. We are continuing our conversation all around storytelling and specifically digital storytelling in this week's episode. Now, I have been talking a lot about storytelling because, as you might have noticed with my recent brand refresh, this is truly going to be the focus of my business moving forward. Now, I've been teaching storytelling and implementing storytelling in my business for almost 8 years. One of the very first challenges that I ever did back in September of 2016 was all around brand storytelling. Then my very first course that I ever released into the world, called Brand New Adventure, was centered around discovering your story and building a brand around that. And all of my programs to this day have always had some sort of aspect that's related to storytelling. In fact, it is the number one reason that people work with me one-on-one, so they can learn how to master brand storytelling and integrate it into their marketing strategy. Now, I have used, as I've mentioned, storytelling for many, many years and in many different aspects. And the one thing that I have really come to understand is that it doesn't matter the platform, it doesn't matter the algorithm, it doesn't matter the trends, it doesn't matter what's working right now, what's hot right now. Storytelling remains consistent. And if we as entrepreneurs, business owners, brands, content creators can master the art of storytelling, we will always have an amazing advantage in marketing. And that's really important to me to teach you, to help you understand why storytelling is so freaking important and so powerful. Now, we're going to dive in and nerd out on a few of the fundamentals around storytelling, because if you're anything like me, you might love the data. And even if you don't love the data, stick around, because I'm going to share with you how storytelling can actually help you as a business owner, not just with your marketing, but with your alignment in business as well. So as we know, storytelling leads to an increase in connection. It leads to building a community. It increases your conversions online, and it leads to more clients, because when someone trusts you, they will purchase from you. So we know all of this to be true, but why? Why is storytelling so impactful? The first thing I want to share with you are some really amazing stats that I've been obsessed with for years. And while they do remain pretty consistent, there might be a little small percentage up or down. These are the most recent ones that I was able to find, and we will link them in the show notes. So the very first thing is that your content that you create really, when you incorporate storytelling, it becomes more memorable to your ideal customer. We're going to talk about why that is in just a second, but the statistic is that it's 22 times more likely. Now, whether it's officially 22 times or not, this actually is debated often in storytelling. What's important is that it's true, that it does make your content more memorable, because we know the effects of storytelling on the brain. So if you're spending all of this time creating content, which I know you are, I do the same thing, don't you want it to actually last a little bit longer, especially when it comes to social media? Don't you want people to actually remember what it is you just said, what you spent all of this precious time creating content around? I know that I do. And if just integrating a little bit of storytelling does that, I'm all for it. A couple things we also know about consumers, aside from the fact that they're bombarded with information, which again makes storytelling so powerful, because if they're reading and getting a million messages a day and you have storytelling intertwined in yours, they're more likely to actually remember yours and oftentimes engage in your content. But we also know that so many consumers are craving authenticity. And in fact, they're making purchase decisions based on authenticity. 86% of consumers say that authenticity is a key factor in their purchase decisions. And I'm recording this in 2024. At the beginning of this year, in January 2024, I couldn't even count on my two hands the amount of emails that I got from different influencers, from different brands, from different companies saying that authenticity is in demand. Now, here at Brandmerry, we've been talking about authenticity since 2016. And I know I'm not the only one, but as I've shared before, Authentic Brand Builders was actually my very first Facebook group. So authenticity has always been a core value here. But we are seeing more and more a demand for authentic content, most likely because of the rise of AI-generated content, and as well as the markets just having more and more people creating content. So authenticity is something that your audience is craving, and a fantastic way to show up, be yourself, be authentic, provide value, provide connection is via storytelling. So again, it's a very, very easy thing that you can integrate into your strategy that is going to help you in this area. The second stat that I want to share with you is that 81% of people say they need to trust a brand to buy from them. Now, we've already talked about this, but when someone trusts you, they do business with you. In fact, 81% are saying this. And when you can integrate storytelling into your approach to marketing, you will build trust so much faster. And the last stat that I want to share with you is a newer stat that I am mildly obsessed with. And while it is a new, fresh stat and maybe, hasn't had a big pool of research developed, I think it is showing us a trend that is starting now that is only going to increase. And that is 57.3% of consumers say they can spot AI content almost immediately. So I talk a lot about AI content here on the podcast. We've even had a recent episode all about making AI content authentic to you. And I stand by my belief that you can use AI tools to advance your business, streamline your business, use them as a VA. And if you are struggling, yes, get the juices flowing with content creation. But we cannot copy and paste. Why? Because we lose authenticity. And our audience wants authenticity. And our audience can tell when authenticity has been stripped from our content. This is all that the statistics are showing us. So what can you do? Learn to master the art of storytelling so that you can integrate storytelling into your content. Now, why is all of this so important? Because the demand is only increasing. A lot of these statistics have been around, a lot of this research has been around for a long time. But again, with the rise of AI content and more people creating content online, how do you stand out? It all comes down to storytelling. So now that we know that storytelling is highly effective and something every brand and business owner should be using, let's talk about why it works so well. Now, the first thing that happens when we as consumers read a story is something called neural coupling. All right, bear with me on some of this stuff. But neural coupling is essentially when someone turns your story into their own, okay? And this I think is really, really important. This is when neurons start firing in the brain. It's ultimately stimulating the listener. It's getting them to pay attention. This is why storytelling in and of itself is so effective, how storytelling has been used for generations and generations and generations, and why storytelling works so well as, a marketing tool. It isn't about the story itself. And this is something that I really try and tell my clients over and over again. It's not about the fact that you can relate exactly to my story, that we've shared even the exact same circumstance. Now, there might be cases like that, and it's really amazing when you can find those to connect with your ideal customer. But at its core, it's just about you telling stories. Because when you can tell a story and you can do it effectively, then your audience immediately is having these neurons firing in their brain and they're becoming more engaged, which, as we talked about before, makes your content more memorable. The second thing that I think is really, really important is that it lights up more of the brain. More of the brain is actually ignited when we are listening to stories. And this is really, really important as brand and business owners because we tend to default to logistics out of the gate. So we tend to say, I have this program and this is what it includes and this is when it starts and these are some of the things that you're going to do, right? And that's great. That information is important, but it can't be the only information that we provide. And when we can incorporate storytelling into our approach, we're actually going to be engaging more of our audience's brain. And we know that people make purchase decisions not based on logistics, but based on emotions. Why? Because more of their brain is ultimately being engaged. So it's just another reason why storytelling is so effective on consumers. And the last two pieces that are so important, and again, we're not talking about your audience sharing a specific story, like you and your audience having the exact same story. It's just about the art of storytelling. But stories specifically fire dopamine in the brain, which is the feel-good hormone. It leads to deeper connection, which we talked about in the beginning as something storytelling provides with your audience. It also releases oxytocin, which helps with empathy, trust, and compassion. If you are an authentic brand builder, which I know you are because you are here listening or watching this episode, I know that these things are important to you. So why not learn how to do storytelling effectively, how to integrate it into your marketing strategy, and use it as truly the base of your content moving forward. As you can see, it's important, and there is so much research behind storytelling. But there is this aspect of storytelling that isn't often talked about. And this is one of the benefits that I want to highlight for you today. In case you are on the fence about storytelling, you're still wondering, what kinds of stories should you ultimately share? How do you get started? All of those different aspects. The biggest thing that has really helped me as a brand and a business owner has been sharing my own personal stories. Now, when I say that, I'm not suggesting that you wear your entire life on the internet, okay? I'm not suggesting that you're sharing, these fresh, raw stories, as they're unfolding. I'm not suggesting that you are basically just inviting the whole world into your life. And I think that is something that a lot of people associate with storytelling. We think about vlogging, following you around with a camera or, talking about something while it's fresh or you're going through it just because you need to show up and be authentic and share stories. That's not what this is about. And in fact, I believe and have been saying for many years that there are aspects of your life that absolutely should be sacred and should not be shared online. And you are the gatekeeper of that. You are the one that gets to decide that. But the areas that do feel good, the areas that are exciting for you to share, the areas that you think would really connect with your audience, these are very valuable pieces to share online. And what I've really discovered is through the process of sharing stories online, specifically personal stories about me, about my journey, about my everyday life, it's a hell of a lot easier to create an authentic brand. It's so easy. It does not have to be hard because at the core of all of my content is me showing up, doing the damn thing every single day. And yes, my audience is at the core, right? Every story that I share online, even if it might be my personal story, I'm always thinking of my audience. A recent story that I shared in an email, I shared it on a couple trainings, I shared it in an Instagram post, I feel like I've been talking about it nonstop, is this whole story around sourdough and my journey with starting sourdough and how actually starting the process of sourdough and sharing my journey online allowed me to fall back in love with social media. And how when I started just inviting my audience in to what I was doing behind the scenes, something completely unrelated to my business. I don't teach you how to make sourdough. I don't ever plan on it, okay? Completely unrelated to my business, but something I genuinely love, something that's authentic to me, something that's personal to me. Engagement went up. Conversations went up. Conversions went up. Because I wasn't afraid to show up. I had something truly authentic to myself that allowed me to just show up consistently online. And it made social media fun again. And dare I say, helped me fall back in love with social media, which is something I have been struggling with for a very long time. And something I've been very, very open about here on the podcast and on my blog and to my newsletter as well. And so by sharing these stories online, you start to really develop a personality online. People start to really understand who you are, not just as a brand and a business owner, but also the things that happen behind the scenes, how you are in your everyday life, the things that you love, your values, your mission, the things that are important to you. This is all essential in building a business. Because people want to know the person behind the brand. And as I have said, what feels like many, many weeks in a row, I don't care what you sell. I don't care if it's a service or a product or a digital good. People want to know about the person behind the brand. And when you can go this extra step and share these different aspects of who you are as a person, it builds trust a lot faster. And not only does that lead to a conversion, yes, but it leads to repeat conversions. It leads to brand affinity. It leads to people coming back and buying from you over and over and over again. It leads to having one-on-one clients, not for 6 months, not for a year, but for 2, 3, and sometimes 4 years. It leads to your clients and your audience telling their friends about you. The greatest form of marketing, in my opinion. And all of this really just comes down to you showing up as you. I recently got what I would consider an amazing compliment. And it's not the first time that I've heard this. I've heard this many, many times from my clients who have never actually met me in person, but have said after our first meeting, our first Zoom call, that, wow, you are exactly the same as you show up online, right? And I really take a lot of pride in that because that's really important to me as someone who values authenticity. But recently I had a friend who has known me for years and years tell me that her sister recently made that comment that, you know, there's a lot of influencers online that when you meet them in person, you're just like, wow, this is not what I was expecting. But that I specifically was someone who she had met many times, and it just feels like a natural extension of me online. That's because I am taking this next step, that I'm sharing these truly authentic stories of myself, that I'm inviting my audience in. And it has really allowed me to find myself as a brand and to develop and grow over these years. It also has always made sure that I'm creating aligned content, that when I feel like I don't know what to talk about, or I'm kind of struggling with motivation, or I've got a list of ideas and I just don't know where to start, I can usually start with a story and it all just aligns. I can usually start with a story, something that recently happened to me or something that I experienced or a conversation I had with a client, and jumpstart the process again, which makes content creation so much easier. And I've been teaching on content creation for many, many years. And one of the things I really focus on is around your systems and your structure. And while that is very, very true, over the past 6 months, I've come to realize that what has always made content easy for me is that it really comes from a storytelling aspect. That even if I'm sharing 5 tips on this, It's coming from a personal experience that I have gone through or that I have witnessed with a client. That if I'm sharing a reel or a quote, that it's coming from a personal experience, which again makes my content easier to create. It helps me never run out of ideas. It makes sure that my content is aligned with who I am as a person, and it allows me to authentically show up online. To me, this is one of the greatest benefits of storytelling. Yes, we have all of these amazing stats that tell us, the consumers want this, and storytelling helps us build trust. It helps us show up authentically online. These are all things consumers want. We also have this amazing, science that tells us this is what's happening in our consumer's brain. This is why storytelling is so effective. But as someone who is genuinely obsessed with personal branding and genuinely obsessed with storytelling, I love that these two aspects come together and they allow us to create a business that feels really good and is simple and easy. I'm going to use the word easy. I don't always use the word easy, but we're going to use it today. When you can master the art of storytelling, showing up online becomes so much easier. And I really want that for you. I want you to understand how to use storytelling in your business, especially in this digital age where storytelling is required. Again, it's always been there. It's always been around. I've read so many books on storytelling and studies of storytelling and marketing and advertising, from the 50s, the 60s, all the way back in time to today and how we're using it online. You will have a major advantage if you understand how to use digital storytelling and how to use it no matter what happens online. No matter how marketing changes, no matter how the industry changes, you will be more adaptable because everything that you're creating really comes from, you and what you're experiencing and what you're witnessing. But you're also going to be able to stand out online. And when I ask my clients, what do you want? What do you want, right? Audience members, people who are subscribed to my newsletter, community members, what do you want your brand to do? The response is always to stand out online. Well, standing out online doesn't come from using a bunch of different hashtags. It doesn't come from using the right thumbnail. It doesn't come even from SEO, which we all know I love. Truly standing out online comes from storytelling. It comes from differentiating yourself. And no two people share the same stories. So if you came into this episode and you were wondering, all right, what do you got for me? What are the benefits? Why is this so important? I hope you're walking away with an understanding of how storytelling can support you as a brand and a business owner. But if you are ready to take the next step in your journey, to truly master the art of storytelling, and I'm going to say it, learn how to tell stories in a way that's going to support you for years and years to come. I want to invite you to learn more about how I can support you in mastering the art of digital storytelling in my new course, Storytelling Made Simple. Doors are opening soon, and if you want to learn more about the program and join the waitlist, you can go to brandmerry.com/story. That's BRANDMERRY.com/story. I'm going to teach you how to master the art of storytelling so you can use it over and over and over again in your business. From all forms of marketing, from social media to video content, podcasting, blogging, email marketing, sharing your brand story with the world, understanding what makes storytelling effective, the mistakes to avoid, and so much more. I genuinely want this course to be the one and only storytelling course that you will ever need to purchase as an online business owner. And I'm so excited because I will be running the inaugural launch completely live, where you'll have live calls with me and community support. So if you want more details, head to brandmerry.com/story. And again, I hope that you got some juicy nuggets from today's episode, and you're ready to jump right in. In fact, if you go and join the waitlist for Storytelling Made Simple, I don't want you to wait to get started until that course launches. So show up today, tomorrow, and the next day and practice just telling your story online. Inside the course, we'll be refining that. We'll be creating systems, templates, frameworks so that you can master this at the highest level. But the first step is for you to just go out there and get it. And I hope that this episode inspired you to do just that. I'll be back next week with another episode all about brand storytelling. And I hope to see you join the waitlist at brandmerry.com/story as we get ready to kick off Storytelling Made Simple very, very soon. See you next week. Bye.